Sehr geehrte Frau Schmidt,
Mrs. Rebecca Schmidt, Professor Susanne Schröter, President Thurau, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you this morning at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Welcome to all who have decided to listen to us by live stream, attending this workshop today. Today's event, ladies and gentlemen, is a joint project of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation in cooperation with the Frankfurt Research Center, Global Islam, at the Excellence Cluster Normative Order of the Goethe University of Frankfurt. And therefore, I am particularly delighted to have you here together with Mrs. Rebecca Schmidt, the Managing Director of the Excellence Cluster, and Professor Susanne Schröter, the Director of the Frankfurt Research Center, Global Islam, at the Excellence Cluster Normative Order of the Goethe University of Frankfurt. Welcome. I think for us as a foundation, it is a great honor to have strong partners on our side who have conceived and have organized this conference together. Germany, Europe, and the world, as we all know, for some time now, are threatened by Islam-inspired terrorism. It is a real threat. It is a threat that is not limited in terms of space, but a threat that can hit us everywhere and any time, be it, as we have learned recently, in Berlin or in Istanbul, in Paris, in Brussels, in Baghdad, in Tunis, or, as I have experienced myself when I visited the USA, in the United States of America. For a long time, this threat now has become a central global security issue in the world. The fact that it has become a global issue is reflected by the actors, the players, such as the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. What's interesting when we talk about the global dimension, that Islamic terrorism is characterized by a local component or element as well, which is due to the specific roots, the local roots of those groupings that have made those organizations particularly dangerous. Generally, these aggressors have concentrated on ethnic specificities, and that means when we think of the global range, which at the same time are very specific local factors. The consequence is when we are looking for answers to the challenges raised by Islamist terrorism, we have to ask the question, which are these local conditions favoring terrorism or that produce terrorism, virtually speaking? This is the very focus which we want to deal with today, that is to study the local conditions, how they develop, where terroristic players are working. For this purpose, we use different terms, be it the milieu or parallel societies or no-go areas, law-free areas. That depends on every specific case, as we will jointly discuss, perhaps controversially as well. As a matter of fact, the supporting milieu, the environment of sympathizers, makes it possible, produces the conditions for terrorism to the full. Terrorism needs an environment that it nourishes. And therefore, the question is how this environment is generated, why it is produced, and how it works, and how its emergence and functioning can be prevented. We will discuss these matters at 3 panel sessions, and the specific conditions is what we will analyze. We will discuss them when we talk about Europe, Africa, as well as Asia. Well, what we definitely can say at the beginning right away is that the refusal of state institution is what they all have in common. The Islamistic ideology, the practical measures that can be taken in order to strengthen state institutions where they are weakened. These we will study, we will analyze the role of the states, the security organs or other state institutions they have to play, and the balance between repression and prevention. All these are questions we will turn to during these 3 panel discussions. I think these are not only questions dealing with state institutions, but they are also addressing civil society players. And in the end, it also pertains to our system of values and a society. And therefore, civil society players are also Muslim associations that are called on here to take an active part in this discussion. And at this table, we also have a number of their representatives here today. Let me say one more word about the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. I can say that the education institutions we have in the states of Germany, the question on how to deal with terrorism is discussed more and more by the representatives present here today. The people want to know how to counteract terrorism. The foundation is also very active in other countries. We have more than 80 offices all over the world. And there too, I can establish that the questions about these difficult issues have continuously grown. We have responded to these needs not only for 2 or 1 years now, but we have definitely and visibly strengthened our presence in the Middle East and also in Africa and in sub-Saharan Africa. We have opened an office in Mali recently, and we have special offices dealing with regional aspects of security and migration. There are 2 staff members of ours who are in charge of these offices who will take the floor today. We also have established offices dealing with Syria and Iraq, especially to pay more attention to these questions. I recently visited New York. We have also an office in New York, apart from our Washington office, where questions of terrorism and security will play a particular role. That should be enough about our commitment, and I am happy that we will discuss these issues together. We have strong partners, as I have mentioned before. Therefore, I would like to ask Rebecca Schmidt now to speak to us and to deliver her words of welcome. Thank you very much indeed.